So what I wanted to do today is as a kind of a practice sharing subgroup, there is 5 of us in the group, and we would like to create a safe place for practitioners to be able to share their practice. And so today we will, I have a very short presentation about how we think that we should share case studies in a way that is safe, and also so that we can learn from each other. Our name has changed from the case study group to the practice sharing subgroup because there is another case study group that collects case studies from students and talks about how they should be written. So this is much more a group for practitioners to be able to share their practice. And really the idea is that as the subgroup, we will help to facilitate this sharing, but we can decide, and we will discuss more at the end of the presentation, how we would like to continue to learn from each other and what is the best way to do that through using case studies. So I think we are all, I do not know everybody's background. I'm a physiotherapist and I'm a very practical person. I like to see and feel and touch and hear things in order to learn them. And one of the things that I always find really helpful is to look at somebody else's practice and to learn through that. So that is the background. That is what we would like to present to EEFTN and to kind of share in terms of how we will do that. So we've started out with creating some guidelines. They are quite small. I hope that you can see them. In terms of what we should include in a case study that we will share amongst practitioners, one thing that we would like to do is to limit the amount of time that you're sharing your case study to allow for questions, but also for there to be a standardized way that we share them so that we help maybe practitioners who haven't done this very much before, and also just to try to standardize the way that case studies are shared to help what it is that we want to share. So when we are sharing a case study, you will see that my case study outlines the kind of the 10 points that are shared on this slide. It begins with a presenting condition, goes through a problem list, a treatment goals, assessments and outcomes, equine assessment, and why we chose that equine, intervention, what the first sessions were like, what the last sessions were like, what the results were, or any observations or any difficulties that we had, and then what the plans are. And then following this, the kind of floor would be open for participants to kind of share ideas or to ask questions, and that hopefully this will be a learning thing for everybody. We would like the presentations to be about 15 minutes. I already said that, with 5 to 10 minutes for questions. Obviously, language is difficult for many of us, so I think if English is not your first language, then maybe a little bit longer for you to spend some time to explain things in English is also okay. And we would need the presentations to be in PowerPoint so that they can be shared easily. Any questions about that?
No, it's very clear.
I have a question concerning the treatment goals. Are you going to ask them or ask people to go by ICF?
So what we will do is just go by how you have assessed your client in terms of their goal outcomes, okay. Not in a standardized way.
Okay,
and you will see in mine what outcomes I have used. but it can be any outcomes, because we also learn through our outcome measures, don't we, and treatment goals. Just a note about consent. We've had many discussions about consent in our group, and it is an issue. Particularly, I suppose it is important for any client group. I work with children, so it is particularly important in this client group. And because we want to share information about the treatment, obviously our client is a part of that. So it is important that we state in our presentation that consent for the case study has been given. That we try to anonymize the photos as much as possible. You will see on my presentation I have anonymized all the photos, but I was not able to do this on the videos. I do not know how to do it. If anybody knows how to do it, that will be wonderful. But so I will discuss that in a little bit. Also, any helpers, they need to also know that they will be on any videos or photos, so we need consent from them also. And that we keep the identity confidential. So in my presentation, I've used a fake name for my child, but yeah, not so that we do not use the real names. You can use the real names of the ponies, but not of the child or the client. And then I will read these because in terms of future case presentations, so today I'm going to share an example. It is not the best example. I have not used this as kind of the best practice example. It is purely an example of how you can share the case study. But what we want to do is to make a safe place where this can be done. I think when we share case studies, we can often feel that we are under scrutiny from other practitioners, and it can be a little bit exposing and difficult, and we want to make it as easy for people. So some of these things, I suppose, don't need to be shared, but we just want to create a positive place for people to learn. So I think don't make any unhelpful comments, and any questions and comments need to be, and suggestions need to be kind of respectful for wherever that person happens to be practicing, because we do things all slightly differently in different settings. We will not record, so that is an example that people can maybe use, but after that we will not record the sessions, just to make it a little bit easier and give people confidence to share. So the only people that will see videos and the presentation live will be the people that come to the meeting on the day. What we would like is for the PowerPoint to be made available. So things like your treatment plan and things can still be made available, and what outcome measures you used can still be made available. But we won't share the videos apart from this one.